Hi, this is Sean from Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio. Welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. To complete this repair, what you'll need is I use my drill, but you just need a number 2 Phillips, a 5/16 driver or a adapter for your drill like I use. Use a file to clean up the motor shaft, a flathead screwdriver, hose clamp pliers, and some channel locks. Okay, we have a Kenmore Washer. The complaint is that it's leaking and that it doesn't go into the rinse and spin cycle properly. So we're going to go ahead and start accessing the different components to find out why that is. First thing I'm just going to check for is on the lid switch for it not going into the spin cycle on its own. And I'm just going to open and close it a few times. Alright, I definitely do hear it clicking. I'm just going to inspect the switch here. And the switch, I can actually physically feel it. It is cracking and breaking apart, which would make it so where maybe it's temperamental and it won't work. So when you close the lid, this little pin hits the switch, and with it cracking apart, it'll push the switch apart rather than push the lever down to actually engage the switch. So that's why it's not going into the spin cycle properly. So now what I'm going to do is to get a better look at everything, and because we have the space, I'm going to totally just disassemble the machine in order to access that and then look at the leak. So first thing we have to do is take off some components on the control panel. So we're going to go ahead and access the control panel. These little cosmetic tabs, they just pop off from the top. Sometimes they're harder to get off than others, but they came off pretty easy. Now there is a screw on each end. It's a Phillips screw. Now we can actually flip up our control panel and access all the electrical stuff. I'm disconnecting our lid switch here, and then with a flat-headed screwdriver, there's a locking tab here and here that hold our cabinets on. So I'm just going to pop those up and remove them. Now with that being done, I can actually remove the whole outer cabinet here. So we got that. We're disassembled. We're going to pull it towards me. I'm going to gently let my control panel go down, and then with it out at about a 45-degree angle, I can slide it forward, which then removes our whole cabinet. Now we have access to the entire machine, and we can get a better idea of maybe where that leak is coming. Now in order for us to make the washer function completely, that lid switch has to be either bypassed or plugged back in somehow, and we can't do that with having the cabinet off. So in order to make the unit fully operational for me, I have a bypass here that I made just with an old lid switch. Just put the wires together with the wire nut, and it's just going to plug in here, and now I'll be able to use every function of the machine. So first glance down here, it looks like our pump is the culprit for our leak. I'm going to just turn the washer on, let some water come through, and then see if I see anything leaking out of the washer there, or out of the pump. Now I want to put as little amount of water in there as possible so I eliminate as much mess as I can.
I usually don't leak too much. It just comes out just enough to see. Maybe I'd say a pint to a quart.
Okay.
That's usually about it.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of corrosion on this clamp down here, and the pump is a very common piece to leak. Yeah, the pump is leaking. That's the only thing there that's water carrying. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the water out. It's probably going to leak a little bit more once that pump starts moving. We'll advance it to the spin cycle. Not very far, but if you just kind of get this area here.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
We're rolling.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, since there's still water in the tub, to help minimize leak, I have my hose clamp pliers. I'm going to put on the hose that goes from the pump to the tub. Now it's not going to get it all. I got a rag here to help kind of catch our water as we leak. I'm going to remove the 2 clamps that hold our pump in place. And then I can hope that our pump is going to kind of come off of that motor. Depending on how long it's been leaking, it could be rather corroded, which it feels like it is. Alright, so we're gonna have to resort to plan B with that. In the meantime, we're gonna get the clamps loosened up off of our hoses here. Alright, now normally this should slide straight off the shaft, but because it's probably been leaking for some time, there's a lot of corrosion and it's comfortable. So basically we're just going to work on this until we get it off. Alright, wasn't as graceful as I had hoped, but it's successful. Alright, so that'll at least stop the leaking for us. So first things first, if we look at this shaft, it's in pretty bad shape from that leak. So I have my file here. I'm gonna have to clean that up the best I can in the hopes that we can get our new pump to be able to go onto that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm also gonna put the clamps back onto the pump so that way I don't accidentally pull this back off and get more water to leak on me. So we're just going to clean up our motor shaft the best we can. The reason we don't want to force this on is because the pump is all plastic and will damage the new pump. So now we got that shaft cleaned up, we're going to go ahead and slide our pump into position. Get it seated. So we're going to take our clamps and get our clamps on. Alright, then my hose clamp pliers I'm going to remove now. Alright. So we got that out. Now we can move on to our lid switch and replace that. So I'm going to take out the ground screw here, which we did, and then the rest will go up to the top to remove the switch from here. Now we're up here where the lid switch is. There are two screws that hold it in place. So we're going to remove those. Obviously we see our switch start to dangle. Where the switch plugs in, there are two snaps that lock it in place. So we got that, and then the wiring is held in place with a clip, which is right here. Just pry the clip back. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to remount the switch, the screws we took out originally. I'm just going to hold it in position. So our switch is mounted. I can go ahead and plug it into the place where it snaps in. And all of our wires here, we're going to tuck them back up into that clip just by prying the clip open and sliding the wires down just like they are now. The last thing is our ground screw, which we had removed. So we're going to go over there and insert our ground screw, which up in here. Alright, so that's installed there. We have a little slack here that we're going to just kind of clean up with some maybe a zip tie or two, just to keep them out of the way. So let's see if I can get that up there. Actually, we're able to feed a lot of that wire through up into the front, so we actually don't need a zip tie on this one. So we're there, and you see our switch is mounted in place, and it will do what it's done. Here, I'll close the lid. So now it's functioning properly. Now we can just reassemble the unit. Okay, so now we're going to put our cabinet back on, grasp it, and line it up with my washer. Remember, we're going to slide it back at about a 3 angle to the front tucks underneath the frame, and then I'm just going to gently let it kind of fall back into place. Once we get it back, we have to connect our lid switch here. And then we have our brass clips, which you're going to mount it. You just push down on them, they'll snap into place. So now our cabinet is connected to our washer. You can go ahead and put the control panel down. And mount that. And then we had our 2 screws, which we had removed earlier. Our 2 Phillips screws, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in to our control panel. And then finally, snap on our cosmetic cover. Just like that, and then we'll run a test cycle and make sure everything works fine. Thank you for watching another quality in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.